How you doing, Bhavini?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. I'm really excited to be speaking with you again.
Obviously, I've spoken to Bhavini many times, and we've actually got to talk about something that we've been to. It's a first for me. It's a first going to Birmingham in the UK, and we went to a design festival. What was it about, really? Because I'm still trying to figure that out afterwards. Because there was a lot going on. It was a
There
festival,
was,
obviously, for
yeah,
designers.
there was a lot going on. I love that there was a lot going on. And yeah, so Birmingham Design Festival, it's something that Luke and Dan put on every year. The format changes slightly each year. So this year it was a 3-day festival that had slightly shorter talks in, I think, 3 or 4 different locations and like 3 or 4 different parts of design, and they had workshops as well. And then every other year, it's like a 1-day conference. So the talks are slightly longer. It's in one venue. I don't think there are any workshops. I might be wrong. So
Yeah.
they switch up the format every year.
Mm. Was this the first time you've been, or the second you've been before?
No, I've been before. This is the second time I went to the 3-day format. And
Okay.
then I've been to the conference day
That was it,
format
yeah.
twice as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I like the way it was broken down into, is it graphic design, analog, what was the other one?
Yeah, and
Print,
there was
digital.
digital, and there was, yeah, I really liked that it was separated like that.
Yeah, because that helped to separate. If you don't want to do all digital, you can go into the other workshops, and yeah, that was
Yeah,
interesting. And so yeah, it was in Birmingham University,
it was. Yep.
City University. Again, that's the first time I've been there, so I'm traveling. All of us were together. We got a few of our design buddies going together and meeting up. And yeah, it was good for networking if you
It
wanted
was.
to. And so, what was your first impressions when you got to the festival? Was it organized? Was it straightforward?
It was. It was raining, so I was very soggy when I
Oh,
first got there.
yes. I remember your
But
trousers were very
that's,
wet.
I know, right? I felt like I was a teenager again. Do you remember when we were at school and we'd have
Yeah,
like really like
coat
wide
strip.
leg trousers? Or yeah, exactly. But that's not down to the organisers. That
No,
was
it
my
wasn't.
own fault. I really loved that as you walked in, you walked into a space that didn't feel intimidating. You can walk into spaces sometimes and you get that feeling of, oh my God, everybody's turning around and looking at me. And
Yeah,
that can feel a bit nerve wracking, can't it?
can be. Yeah.
But this felt really inviting. And I love that you walk in and there's loads going on everywhere. There was a stall in the middle, wasn't there? There was the coffee shop in the corner. And I think there was screen printing as well to the right, wasn't there?
Yeah, the screen printing and lots of giveaways. Like they had lots of leaflets and
Yes.
information. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really liked it. And it felt like you as soon as you walked into those doors, you were in the middle of it, and the outside world kind of just disappeared. And I actually really liked that.
Yeah, and I know that there was a lot of volunteers there, and some were
Mm.
built a little bit of a relationship with them.
Yeah, and it is quite nice to see familiar faces throughout the day, isn't
Mm,
it? When
yeah,
you've got a question that you might need to ask or need to know how to get to a particular location, because they weren't. So although there was 3 or 4 different locations, they weren't like next door to each other, were they? You had to kind of walk for sort of 10, 15 minutes to get somewhere. So it was nice that there was somebody on hand to answer your questions about where am I going?
yeah. But even the people who had nothing to do, I think obviously there was other things going on around
Mm,
the festival. There was
yep.
people who were like lecturers or other stuff going on in other rooms. And even
Mm,
if I looked like I was lost, there was people who were friendly and willing to help you, like going on the
that's really
wrong
good.
floor. Yeah, so yeah, the atmosphere was definitely good, and I liked how people are very friendly there. I'm not sure what it's like
Mm,
outside of the festival, but I think it's very straightforward. Even the venues, where things were, the instructions on
yeah.
which floor, what you needed to go on was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So, anything that was a standout moment for you, regards to whether it's a workshop or a talk?
Two things.
Yeah.
One of the talks that I went to was a typography one. like by type design. I think you were in that one as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I
And
was. Yeah.
he said, I can't remember his exact words, but he said something along the lines of, if you're a creative, you've got to get comfortable with always like doubting yourself. To hear that actually somebody who is amazing at what they do and is, founder of a typography studio and is standing up doing a talk also feels those same doubts that you feel every time you press send on a new visual that you're sending a client. It's quite reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah, and also even his professionalism with his technique of how
Yeah.
he approaches typography, because I was taught in a particular way when I was at uni, or
Mm.
I've got this idea what's how we use our typography in our design work and with our clients. But I think his was more kind of another direction I wasn't expecting. The way he was very detailed in his approach to how
Yeah.
he does typography and how he uses it was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And the other standout moment for me was I did a weaving workshop, and I have no idea where the 2 hours went. So it went really quickly, but I really loved being able to completely switch my brain off from like, keyboard shortcuts and the screen that I'm always sitting in front of when I'm doing creative stuff, to actually just use my hands, pick and choose colors, like physical colors of like thread that are there in front of me rather than something that's digital and on screen. It was such a nice way to spend the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, well, there were some ones workshops that were similar, all hands-on. Unfortunately, they were
Mm,
booked up quite quickly.
they
Was the
were.
screen printing ones and the zine magazine ones,
Yes.
and I think they were on different days anyway. That when we attended, so
Mm,
I couldn't make it anyway. But those, I understand what you mean about having the hands-on, physical, and getting away from digital.
yeah,
It's very kind of therapeutic. Yeah.
it is. It felt really therapeutic, and it makes you think in a different way, right? Because I do the same thing you do, Heather. We're both graphic designers. We sit in front of our screen. We do similar things every day, right? Even though projects might be different, but to kind of completely break that pattern and do something that you've actually really got to think about in a different way was, yeah, it was really lovely.
Yeah. I remember you were messaging said we're going to be a bit late because we're still we're
Yes.
still making. I went, okay.
Yeah, so we had initially, so Ange and I had gone to this workshop, and we had initially thought it was a 2 hour workshop, but
Yeah.
it would be the kind of workshop where if you finished what you're doing, you could leave and go to the next talk. So we'd booked a talk to go to at 4 o'clock, which was back at Parkside, which is I think about a 15-minute walk away
Yeah,
from the
that's right. Yeah.
location we were in. And we were doing this thing from 2 till 4. And before we knew it, it was like 3:45, and we're like, no, but we still haven't even finished what we're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, sorry guys, we're not gonna make this talk.
So they have one particular area where they have the actual same talks. So they were very much aware of times. As soon as people were packed in there, they had to immediately leave. They couldn't have a chance to talk to the the presenters or the people who were
Mm.
presenting that talk. So there was not much time to communicate with them afterwards. So there was that pressure. So I don't know how did you feel about the setup and of these
Um,
events and these individual workshops?
so with the individual workshops, I think by the time we'd finished, throughout the workshop, we'd been talking to the people who were running the workshop and some of the other people who were there. So I think we didn't feel like we needed to hang around afterwards. I did get the chance to speak to the guy who was doing the talk about typography. I had a question that I wanted to ask him. But yeah, I know what you mean. It was very much a get in, get started, and as soon as it's finished, if there aren't too many questions being asked by the audience, I guess you're being ushered out because the next one needs to start. I thought it was quite well organised, to be honest. I thought it ran quite smoothly. And I guess had talks overrun or there had been too many questions, that would have had such a massive impact on
Yeah.
the following talk and then the one after that, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a negative kind of leaning I
Yeah.
was going on. It was more, I was aware that it would have been nice to maybe, I think they did say some of the volunteers, even one of the volunteers in that
Mm.
one of the talks said and caught me afterwards and said, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to like rush you out because I knew that you were trying to talk. And I said, no, I
Yeah.
understand you've got a deadline, and it wasn't
Yeah.
personal because she was very aware that I was trying to talk
Yeah.
to, and speaking of the ones that I really resonated with me, I don't think
Mm.
you were at that one. It's the House of Oddities. That
No,
one,
I didn't go to that one.
that one's really good. That one really spoke to me because it's talking about AI and also how people are using their uniqueness and their weirdness
Yeah.
to their through their work. And yeah, that one spoke to me, and it was lighthearted and it was funny. And
Mm.
there was also talking about the how they came together. 'Cause I think they came originally from a journalist background,
Wow,
and
okay. Yeah.
and I managed to speak to them afterwards, just
Brilliant.
briefly. But yeah, it was good
Yeah.
to talk to them outside of the talk as well. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of the speakers hung around afterwards as well because the
yeah,
day ended and then there were events going on in the evening as well, weren't
hmm,
there? So I
yeah,
wonder if that might have
yeah,
maybe we'll have to go for like the whole 3 days next time this format is on and go to the socials and
yeah. I would
the
have loved
evening
that. Yeah,
events.
yeah. But and I think the majority of us wanted to just do one day, and we had other commitments.
Yeah, this was it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seemed to be the one that worked out was like the common day was the Thursday, wasn't it,
that's right.
for
That's
everybody
true.
who went?
Yeah, and even like remember when I was saying to you about, oh, let's do a podcast. I had this vision this
Yes.
of us being in a wonderful cozy hotel with our mocktails or something, and we've got
Yeah.
our little microphones talking about this very subject about after the events. But never mind, that will happen in the future, I'm sure.
Yes. Next time we will do that.
Yeah, when we have more time, definitely.
Yes.
If this episode resonates, follow, leave a review, or you can DM me over on Instagram at Creatively Eccentric. If you would love to be a guest and share your story, register to join the guest waitlist. You'll be the first to hear when applications reopen. The link to sign up will be in the show notes. So, just talking about festivals and networking
Mm.
outside of the Birmingham Design Festival,
Yeah.
you must have gone to quite a lot and experienced different types. What's been your experience about networking just generally?
I used to be really bad at it up until about like 18 months to 2 years ago. And then last year I did some coaching and some mentoring sessions and it was sort of all based around my own like my own self-confidence and how I approach networking events. So rather than going to an event with somebody and then sort of, ending up sort of sticking with them and not actually speaking to anyone else. So I've been over the last sort of 12 months or so trying to break out of that pattern and go to different events and talk to people. I'm actually really enjoying them now that I'm approaching them with a different mindset. I don't I don't like going to the overly formal ones where I have to do like a 60-second pitch about my
Oh, yeah,
business or go to a 6 a.m. meeting and have coffee, usually bad coffee with people that I don't know. So I don't like those. I tend to stick to the more sort of informal networking events locally as well. So I'm in Milton Keynes. I like going to the marketing meetup. That's usually really welcoming and a really sort of positive evening. Yeah, I like going to the ones where you can just walk into a room and you're not trying to have a conversation with somebody because you want to sell them something or because you want to work with them on something. I like just going and having a chat with people.
mm. Yeah, you sound like you're very much selective of what you know your personality and what you love and don't
Yes.
like, with regards to even just talking to people generally, and the atmosphere, and
Yeah,
especially with some of these events, they can be very intimidating. And yeah,
they can.
I don't know about you, but I find the larger the event, the
Mm.
less you get seen or get even just trying to reach out with people. Like, for example, it makes sense for us to go as a group and start off from
Yes.
that point onwards, because that half the battle of having to get to know new people and strangers is a bit of a uphill climb. So if you
Oh,
have
yeah.
people with you that you already know, it doesn't have to be a group, it could be one other person.
It
That,
definitely makes things easier,
yeah,
doesn't it?
it does,
And
yeah.
yeah, I really what I really loved about, I know this is sort of going, we're talking about networking events in general, and this is going back to Birmingham a little bit, but I really loved that, um, and Ange and I were saying this as well, that a group of us went together, and the majority of us were graphic designers. In fact, maybe all of us were graphic designers. We all do very similar things, yet we were all there as friends, supporting each other, and there was no like competitiveness. There was no like, I can't speak to that person because she does exactly the same thing that I do. And instead it was, we're all graphic designers, we all do the same thing, and we all love each other. And I really love that. So it definitely makes the day easier to approach.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone is listening, to find someone who actually doesn't have to be an exact person in regards to
No.
creativity. Just, you could be a friend who could support you, just to go with them to these events, especially if it's for the first time, just so that you
Yeah,
can build that
absolutely.
confidence. So,
Yeah.
and the smaller the event for me, the better, because I do
Okay.
find it's not about, oh, really, I can go to these larger events, I don't have a problem with
Mm-hmm.
it, but I feel it's a lot more hard work to navigate who to speak
Yeah.
to. And plus, especially like as we go as a group, there are other people who naturally go off to their own individual groups.
Mm.
So trying to, because I've done this before when I've gone to some events, trying to get into those groups to have a conversation with individuals,
Card.
it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard enough being there. It's hard enough representing yourself. It's hard enough trying to talk to complete strangers. And on top of that, unless
Yeah.
you naturally are extroverted, then it's fine. But even so, it can be exhausting, especially if it's a 2, 3 day event. And yeah,
Yeah. It can be. And then I guess you also don't want to leave feeling like you didn't get a chance to speak to everybody that you
yeah,
wanted to speak to, right? Because sometimes that can, yeah, leave you feeling a bit
exactly.
about it all.
Yeah. So as designers are different types from all
Mm,
walks of life, and some are come into it as they studied it for many years, and there's some people who are they're self-taught, and also there's like different age groups, there's classes, and there's all
yes.
kinds of
Yeah.
mixture of different types of creativity and creatives in the industry. So if you are someone who doesn't feel like they're fit into
Mm,
one of those corporate or design festival spaces, what kind of
yeah.
things would you recommend them they do to feel more at ease, being like, I don't know, say, person of color or neurodivergent, etc.?
One thing that potentially could help is if you are trying to go to one of these like larger events, if you are going on your own and you haven't got somebody that you can take with you, or anybody going, maybe reach out to the organisers and ask if they could introduce you to somebody who might be going, or maybe put a post up on social media to say, I'm going to this event, is anybody else going? And maybe start up a conversation with somebody prior to going, so that when you go, you at least know somebody, right? And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be somebody that you know really, really well, just somebody that you can go and say hello to.
Yeah. Just thinking about what you just said there, remind me that I
Mm,
think, I don't know about you, but when I go to these events, I always think
yeah.
about the event itself and not,
Yes.
I think it also starts well before you actually go to the events. Like you said, is
Absolutely.
anyone else going to the event? Let's go
Yeah.
as a group, or just talking
Yeah.
about it online or to your friends
Yeah.
about the
That's certainly
experience.
helped me before. I went to I've been to a couple of networking events where I haven't known anybody and felt really like, oh, like, what am I doing here? Oh my God, I don't know anyone. When I went to the design festival, when it was a 1 day format a couple of years ago, I went on my own, but I didn't realize I was going to go on my own because people who were going to go with me sort of ended up dropping out. And that was really scary. I almost didn't go scary. And then my husband convinced me, no, just go and, you'll be fine. But if for any reason you aren't, you can always just leave early and come home. And actually, I'm really glad I went because I bumped into Liz Mosley at the festival. And that was the first time I'd met her in person, but I'd known her. We're both in the same online communities, or some online communities. And I recognized her from that, from those online spaces. And I don't know what made me go up to her and say, "Hi, you're Liz, aren't you?" And kind of just ended up hanging out with her for the day. I think we both kind of looked at each other and thought, I think I know that person.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
And there's something made me say, "You're Liz, aren't you?" And I introduced myself, and then I sort of ended up hanging out with her for the rest of the day. And I am so glad that I went, but oh my God, that was so hard.
Probably Liz was thinking, has she got anyone else she can hang out with?
Yeah, sorry, Liz.
I'm
really
sure she was
sorry.
fine with you being there. She's probably feeling the same way. Probably I don't know if she was on her own at the time, but
yeah. And I think one thing I have to keep reminding myself, even now, is that even if I'm going somewhere on my own, it's quite likely that other people are on their own and feeling exactly the same as I am.
Yeah.
And there's nothing stopping me from going there and just saying hello. That's all it takes, right? Just saying hello.
Yeah, and as your husband said, if you feel like you can't deal with it the rest of the day, you can just exit out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. But and also another thing with that before you start the event, there's and looking at all the possible ones that you might want to go to. For the ones who are maybe not financially able to go to these events, is there stuff that might put you off? Because I definitely know that with the climate, the environment that we're in, lots going on in the world, and people are finding it difficult to make ends meet, that the cost of these events, some of them are really, really expensive, and that can be off-putting to some creatives and small businesses.
I completely agree. So a couple of things, I guess. Something like the marketing meetup is, yes, you buy a ticket to go to it, but it's on a pay what you can basis, which I think is amazing. And that's not strictly just for designers, but for those in sort of marketing and marketing adjacent industries. I volunteer at a design festival in Milton Keynes called All Flows, and I know they do a scholarship ticket. So there's an application form that you can fill in, and I don't know exactly sort of how they choose who gets one of the scholarship tickets, but that option is there. I love that, for example, with Birmingham, in the 3-day format that they ran this year, majority of stuff is free. Yes, if you're not local, you've got to kind of cover your costs to get there. And there are paid talks and workshops, but you don't have to do those.
Right? Exactly, yeah.
And the other thing that I would say is try and find events locally that you can go to that aren't like those that you have to commit to and pay like a monthly membership fee, because you don't know if you're going to like it or not, right? You don't know what you're going to get out of it. So I usually look on like Eventbrite or on LinkedIn to see what's going on locally and try and find events that I can go to that have no monthly commitment, because then I don't know, it just makes me feel better about then picking and choosing which ones I go to.
Exactly, yeah. And also I think with the people who and the organisations of these large events, they're getting to understand, probably with feedback over previous festivals that
Yeah,
they created. Maybe they have a feedback where they've asked the people who've attended what their thoughts are about the cost of these tickets.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
there's one that I think is called Sisterland. I would love to
Okay.
go to.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and it's definitely for underrepresented creatives who don't always have the opportunities like
Yeah.
other designers, the top designers have in the larger events. And what was really good, they had like a pay it forward.
Oh, I love that.
So like
Yeah.
a ticket, so someone could, donate or get a ticket for someone else who financially couldn't actually
Mm,
afford to go to an event.
brilliant.
Because the whole point of the Sisterland was to get more people to
Yeah.
who aren't represented in the industry or can't afford to be part of the community and be part of the festival.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's really good.
so that's good. And but I wish some of the larger events that are the most top ones have that more in the forefront, because they do represent, we
Yeah.
say, oh, inclusivity and diversity, but I do feel it's kind of pushed further way down in the the terms and
Okay.
conditions and the frequently asked questions, and it's not really that
Yeah.
obvious if even if they are pro representing all kinds of people, but financially it's expensive, some as we said
I
before.
agree. It
And even
is.
if you break it down and commit to it, it's like a cost. Yeah.
It is. And I guess the thing, yeah, you've got to, I guess you then end up picking and choosing which ones you go to each year, if you go to any. And I guess if they're not obviously talking about that we have this scheme available or we've got a pay it forward scheme available, if you are thinking of going to it, there's no harm in asking before booking a ticket,
Yeah.
I guess, is there?
Exactly, and inquire. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I did.
always.
Yeah, I think remember when I was in London, I did ask. I used to go to a lot of fashion events,
Mm.
and I was trying to get some content for my website,
Yeah.
and I just asked the press departments and the people who were behind the scenes if there was any tickets available. And if you don't ask, you don't know. There might be some
Right.
freebies available.
Yeah.
So I was always
The
trying to.
worst that's going
Yeah,
to happen is it's going to be a no, sorry, we don't have that available, right? But then at least you
exactly.
know, and you can decide whether it's worth your time and money going to it, right?
And another tip I just discovered while I was looking at the larger
Mm.
events, the first thing you just see is obviously this is the ticket, this is how much it costs, the silver, gold, or platinum, whatever
Mm.
the tiers are.
Yeah.
But it's worth especially looking within the communities who go to these events, because there are some sub ones that are grouped together. Like in America, I think there was one, I can't remember the name, but it was like Cannes Lions. And
Yeah.
they had like underrepresented creators in the Black community who were grouped together, but they managed to get a discounted ticket
Yeah.
if there was like a certain amount of
Certain amount of
people
people.
in that
Mm.
community, which made the
Yeah.
cost cheaper, and that
That's a
way they
really
could
good tip.
attend the Cannes
Yeah.
festivals or the Cannes Lions. So
Yeah.
it's worth
That is
looking
a
at.
really good tip.
Yeah, so the research, not just the event, but the people around it as well. Getting that's another way in as well. So yeah. So, what do you think about the speakers at, and not just about the Birmingham Design Festival, but other ones that you've attended? Do you think there's a representation is quite good, not just about culturally, but also people who are in the industry? Do you see the same faces again? Do you want to see different faces with regards to
Oh, that's a
speakers?
really good question. That's a really good question. There are people that I've seen do similar talks at different events, but I've really enjoyed seeing them again because their talks are so good and they're such engaging speakers. Yeah, I do feel like there is a good variety in the speakers. I do wonder whether there is, and I'm not talking about sort of a particular event, but anywhere, but I do wonder if there's more of an opportunity for people who are self-employed or freelancers to be able to do like smaller talks or smaller panels or something like that, just to get themselves out there a little bit.
Yeah. I definitely feel that way because I mentioned the sister land. They definitely have opportunities for you to do like smaller talks, like the panels. So if you don't feel like you want to, because they give you the option, do you want to do your own talk or do you want to be as part of a panel? What do you want to discuss? So they're very well prepared for that. So, but yeah, I think the talks and the people who are actually on the big stage, as they were, very much done this before kind of vibe. So they have they're very polished. They've got, they're the top designers, and of course I get why they're there, because you want that drive for people to want to go to.
Attracts the audience, doesn't
exactly
it? Yeah.
And they're the highlight of the whole actual event. But I think there definitely needs to be more variety.
Those who are sort of at a mid-level in their career and want to explore speaking opportunities or something like that, it would be really great to see something like that. I think
there were some events that they only want the people who've already done it before, and I guess they want it to be professional, but I think there should be room for people who want to try it out as well within those spaces, so that they can see what it's like in those big arenas.
Absolutely. So, even if it's as like not part of the main day, for example, and it's like a fringe event the day after or the day before, just gives others an opportunity, right?
Exactly. So definitely. And is there any advice you would give to someone? I know you mentioned a few great advice before, but is there anything overall that you would give to someone who hasn't done it before, to network or go into these festivals for the first time?
We're all in the same boat, and I think we're all a little bit anxious about going to these things, and actually sometimes just saying yes and doing it, you end up sort of coming home afterwards feeling really great that you've been surrounded by people in different creative industries and you've had different conversations with people. So it sounds pretty cliched, but even if you're scared, just work through that fear and just go to one event and try it. And you kind of end up thinking, yeah, this is great. And you then do it again. And then you do it again and you do it again. And it gets easier, I think.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I also was thinking that, and I've done this before, where basically you go to an event, you're so used to being there, but sometimes you don't feel comfortable, not because you don't feel like you're part of the environment, but it's more about that, is this going to suit me in the future? What am I gaining from this? Make sure you know what you want out of that community, because some communities are just there, they just don't want to network and be salesy, like you mentioned before. And some communities, it's a hard sell, but you have to know what you're there for and if it's suitable for you, because you can, like, square peg and round hole scenario. If you don't not happy with, you not feel comfortable there, because your body's telling you afterwards. I don't know about you, but I get sometimes really exhausted after these events. If that's telling you that it's not a right place for you, or I prefer morning festivals, or networking events, or I prefer evening ones. So know what you want out of the event and know yourself and what you want to get out of it.
And if it doesn't, I say yes, you'll come home from the end at the end of the day of that event and feel really great and you've been surrounded by great people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not, right? And there's no point sort of forcing that feeling. And if you don't, you've tried it and so you won't go again, but you'll find another one that, like you say, is more suitable, right? I've been to quite a few events locally, not necessarily just creative events, but networking events, where I've gone and just felt really like, no, this is definitely not the right place for me. And I've just not gone back. Yep. Tried it, but just, okay, I tried it, great, did it, well done, but it's not right. And actually well done for recognising that it's not right and like forcing yourself to constantly go to events that don't feel right.
Exactly. Well, let me know if anyone's listening, if you resonate with any of this conversation between Bhavini and myself, because all the information down how to contact me is available in the show notes. And if you want to know more about Bhavini, listen to her episode. I'll also link that down below.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to add to before we go and leave this lovely conversation?
No, just as we've been saying, just whatever you end up deciding to do about the event you go to, just make it work for you. And there's no particular event that you have to go to or that you should go to. Pick what works for you.